Good evening, one and all, and welcome to our today's Right and Talk session on how to take holistic approach when some of the vital financial decisions are being made, or you're planning to, have some goals and things like that. So, what do we mean by holistic approach? Is considering each and every aspect of your overall financial well-being, as in even considering the family and households finances, your children's goals, your own retirement, and plus how do we consider what are the some of the vital decisions that come in a doctor's journey. So let's begin. So, what is financial well-being according to you? So, this is a question we'd like to start off with to set the stage and context for our today's discussion. So, what is financial well-being? What does it mean to all of you? And why do we feel that doctors need a helping hand when it comes to making a certain kind of decisions, and what parameters they should consider and things like that. So some time ago, we had conducted a webinar. Basically, it was a panel discussion where we had invited a couple of renowned doctors in Bangalore. And I'm going to play a small video clip from that webinar, which Dr. Chinadurai answers, like what is financial well-being according to you, and then I'll take you through the session.
Financial well-being, according to me, is recently I've seen on a quote by Warren Buffett. So what he says, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. It is a fantastic quote. What I heard recently, we doctors, we think is immortal, and we don't have a retirement. As you all know, even government doctors after retire, they work up to 70, 75. Some doctors even work up to 80 also until they develop Alzheimer's or any Parkinson's, any disease. So that there is no retirement age for us. That's what I think. Being a doctor, morning to evening, we don't know what to do even after retirement. So that's what everyone mindset is. We'll work until we die. But it's not possible. That's what after seeing this Warren Buffett quote, I think that's the best way. After 60, without much hard work, maybe a few hours here and there, we can spend our time for consultation, and money automatically should be there for us to live peacefully. I don't know how much money. Don't know how much money is required. After 20 years, the inflation goes on like this. I don't know how much money is enough. I don't have any idea. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So he answers exactly, a lot of doctor's dilemma, or anybody for a dilemma for anybody rather. So one thing which we commonly face is we don't know how to plan for our retirement. Like, how much will I need? That is the biggest question which needs to be answered today. So, as per Dr. Chinadurai, what does he expect from financial well-being is that he should not be depending on anything or anybody after 60, and he wants to ensure to have a peaceful retirement. But he doesn't know how to start and how to go about it, and how much will he need, how to consider inflation and things like that. So that is exactly one of the important decisions that starts quickly, as should start at a very early point in life, especially for doctors. So let me brief why we feel it is a little bit not little bit, very much different for doctors when compared to other professions or other individuals around, right? So first thing is that a doctor's economic cycle is very different, is totally different from others. Any other profession you take, whether it is commerce, it is engineering, it is law, or anything else, the career starts off max to max by 23, 24 years. And in the beginning itself, from the pay package, there are provisions to contribute towards retirement, whether it doesn't matter whether it is small or big, whatever small portion, it starts off without you having to think much about it. So at least something is being done at the very beginning, at the very outset of it. But in a doctor's life cycle or a career path, so this is a little bit delayed. First thing is the 4 to 5 years of education, and then some of the doctors choose to do a couple of years of master's degree, MD or something like that, another 2 years, and then they have to get on a practice, get on to practice with some experienced hospitals or experienced doctors, and then they start contemplating whether I should, work full time as a consultant doctor, or whether I should do partially with a clinic and a consultation and things like that. So it's very very different. So typically, what happens is up to the age of 27, 28 years, doctors typically depend on their parents, in some form or the other for money or something, because the incomes are not that great until that point of time. Suddenly, after 28, 30 years is when they start getting good incomes in hand. So like that, so retirement or any goal or any savings for that matter is delayed by at least a good 6 to 7 years in a doctor's life cycle. Right. So that is the main concern or a pain point where doctors need a helping hand when they start looking at things around like that. Start looking at financial well-being and financial health and things like that. But once the career takes off, then it's like the earnings are very very significant, and it all starts at once, and there's considerable amount of earnings, and then there's no looking back actually, right? So then comes a point or a question like, once the earnings start, right, what do you do? What typically happens at this point of time? What do doctors normally do when the earnings starts and when they see they're having good cash flows? What becomes their priority, right? So let's discuss all of that, because that is the starting point when we have to look at a financial well-being and a financial path of doctors. So that is the first point that comes into the picture. What typically happens at this point of time when you have significant questions? So let's put a poll there. Sanjay, can you please run the poll? So what did you do when you started earning as a doctor, right? So what was the first thing? What came as a priority for you? So there'll be a poll question. I request everyone to please, give your responses and make this more interactive. So we have options there, 4 options. I request everyone to please participate. So it just takes a couple of seconds there to put your finger on. So I think this is a multiple choice question, so you can give your multiple options there. So good responses are coming in. Thank you so much. So only 53% have answered that particular question. Yeah. So I think we'll end that poll, Sanjay. So yeah. So about most of them, more than 50% of them of you have chosen that I started to save. Maybe because it's a multiple choice question. That's good. That's fantastic, because yeah, the time has lost. The lost time is there, and then that becomes like first thing. That's a good way of starting and having a disciplined approach. Starting to pay my education loan. Some of them have answered, and spent few months on things or activities I desired, or I went on trips frequently. So the objective of having this question is that so what happens is, typically when you start earning, because doctors have done a very hard work. Becoming a doctor is no joke, and it's a very very tough job, and there's so much of dedication, hard work, and sacrifices that one would have done during the study phase and the practice phase and things like that, right? So most of them have missed out on a lot of enjoyment that other people typically do. So the first thing that once settled down with a good job, doctors usually like to spend on the things that they desire first few months at least. They don't think about anything else but just to enjoy, because that is kind of rewarding for them for all the hard work that they have put in, right? So that's absolutely not a problem. So that's a great way to start. But then somewhere down the line, things have to become like more disciplined and streamlined. So one common thing that comes across in medical profession is the medical, the loan, the education loan that one would have taken. So partly it could be funded by parents, and partly there could be an education loan and things like that. So that should become like a priority, that should become a priority to repay the education loan. So initially, a few months, you spend on, you enjoy yourself, you settle down. So feeling that empowerment, to feeling that financial independence is also important. So that is something which is very your own, right? So you have to enjoy that slowly, and then start looking at how do you partially, little by little, save, and how do you prepay that education loan. So sometimes the education loans are quite big. So typically, when education loans are taken, there are options given how to repay that loan. So usually the EMIs will start 12 months after the completion of the course, or 6 months after getting the employment. So till then you will have time to repay the loan. But having said that, if you start prepaying or paying the EMIs whenever you can start, even before this given time period, that will be fantastic, because that increases your credit score also. Plus, you will get out of this burden at a very early age. At any point of time, for any financial decision, a missed time has a opportunity cost. So the earlier you start, whether it is the repaying of a loan, whether it is starting to saving, starting to investing, the earlier is the better. So like that, so you start, one should start looking at repaying this loan early. If there is a doctor in our session today who is in this early phase, so I would suggest, like, start doing repayments, like, step up the repayments. If the EMI is coming to about let's say 30,000, so make it 35,000 every month. So this 5,000 extra goes into the principal repayment, right? So then you're closing the loans faster. This also improves your credit scores, which is very important when you go ahead in life, and when you want to take business loans, when you want to consider options like setting up your own clinic, and all these things matter, because loans are inevitable. So we know we end up taking loans multiple times, whether it is for a home, whether it is for a clinic, or anything like that. So this will really help. Then how to go about this? How do I plan doing this? Is first and foremost thing is, anybody for that matter should make a budget. A monthly budget is very important. So managing and understanding where your money is going and where your money is being saved, how much is being saved, a track of that is very important. A month on month, budgeting helps a long way. It's a discipline that has to come in, right from the beginning, and it goes till the end of life, right? So there we usually suggest following a 50-30-20 rule. So what does this mean is, 50% of your incomes should go towards your basic necessities, which includes your education loan as well. So 50% towards that. 30%, 25 to 30% should go towards savings, effectively. Savings in the terms of not just leaving it in your bank account, but also considering a SIP or a RD, which whatever you feel is comfortable, just start off with that. And the remaining 20% can be spent on lifestyle discretionary expenses like recreation activities, vacations, trips with friends, dinners, things like that. Any sports activities if you're interested and if you have the time, and you need that break, right? So that's the thing. So you have to follow a budget of 50-30-20. So in between all of this, one important thing we should also consider is having a health insurance and a life insurance at an early age. So that gets added to your budget. So the first 50% can become up to 60%, because you're adding on to your annual expenses with these two. Right. So it is important to have health insurance also at an early age, because in the better the health condition, the sooner we get policy, and the lower the premiums, of course. Right. So as you go, and when there is no claim at all on the health, so it keeps on adding as a no claim bonus, and the sum assured increases. So there are a lot of benefits if you start off at an early age with the health insurance. Similarly, for life insurance. For life insurance, for a 1 crore policy, if someone who is in the age group of around 30s, you get it at a very, very cheaper premium, within 10,000 or so. So that's something you should lock in for a lifetime, right? So going forward, these things become expensive. So you could also consider refinancing the education loan. So you would have taken the loan from some bank where the interest rate is quite high. So you can talk to a couple of banks once you start earning, and once you have a better cash flows where you feel that you can repay it faster and at a higher level. So refinancing option gives you consolidating your loan with another bank at a revised interest rate. So there you will be saving on interest cost also, right? And if you have two, three more loans, let's say, you can consolidate all of them and move it to another bank, and the bank will be willing to offer it at a attractive interest rate. So that is one thing you can consider. Another thing how you can repay your education loan is whenever you get any windfall incomes, like whether it is a joining bonus, or there's a gift from someone, maybe your parents or somebody, uh, in cash, right? You can use that to repay your education loan. So those are some of the steps you can take. So now I'll take you through a small case study, which I had a conversation with. So there's this young couple who are in their early 30s. So Arjun is a dentist, and his wife is Veena. She's an IT professional. They live in Bangalore, and Arjun has been working since past 11 years. He has his private practice since 11 years, and Veena has been working as a IT related, with a firm for 8 years. So these are their financials. Okay. So what are their incomes? So the incomes are the clinic revenue gives them around 4 lakhs per month. So annually it is 48 lakhs. And Veena's salary is about 1 lakh a month, and that is about 12 lakhs for the year. So totally in hand, the couple is getting about 60 lakhs into the household on an annual basis. So, what are their typical expenses? The first foremost thing that comes up is your clinic fixed expense. There are certain fixed expenses which are clinic related, right? Staff salary, the electricity, and equipment maintenance and things like that. So those are about a lakh a month. So annually it is about 12 lakhs. They go frequently out with their friends and all. On a monthly basis, they end up spending about 15-20,000. So that's the cost. The both of them love to travel and love to explore places, and they go out on trips at least every quarter, right? So that cost is about 2 lakhs per year. They live in a rented apartment, and they pay around 35,000 there as a rent. Uh, Arjun has to travel to his workplace, his clinic, so that expense is about 20,000 a month. Apart from 20,000 includes all the other travels, the weekend travels and things like that. So on an annual basis, it's about 2.5 lakhs there. They have some fixed medical expenses at present because Veena is undergoing a orthodontic treatment with Arjun himself. Although the consultation costs are not there, there are some other expenses which come up. So that's about 10,000 a month. They have a full-time maid because both are working. They need a helping hand. And then that is about 10,000. Groceries, they spend 10,000. Utilities 5, and they have a home loan of about 30,000 per month. So a few 7 to 8 years ago, Arjun had purchased a property of about 45 lakhs, and he has taken a home loan there, and he has this home loan EMI going. So when we asked what are the savings that is happening on a regular basis, Arjun said that he has a mutual fund SIP of around 20,000, and it is split into a bucket of some large caps, some mid caps, and some small caps. He has taken the help of an advisor. So the outstanding home loan as on today is about 20 lakhs. So what are their challenges when we spoke to them? So what is, what made you come on to this conversation? What made you consult us? So he says that there are some sudden expenses which come up towards the clinic upgradation, like equipment upgradation, or maintenance. These are sudden costs and which are quite high level costs, right? So these are some things which come unplanned, and that is why they are not, they prefer keeping some, more in liquid cash at all times, and that is why the savings are to a minimum, the committed savings, because this can come up at any time and you need cash in. And then another thing that came up during the conversation is that they don't have segregated accounts for the business related and their personal related. So everything is like, one account. Kind of, Veena has her separate account, but he doesn't maintain two separate accounts. So the challenge related to the house that is in question, the home loan which is running, so is that because of some litigation, it was an under construction property at that point of time. Something has gone wrong, and the possession has been delayed, because of which, it's becoming a drag on the thing. So that is one challenge. So typically, what happens, under construction properties available at, very um, attractive, very very attractive prices, and makes sense to go for it, because it will save on a lot of, loan and other costs and everything. But this is one challenge which comes up. So even though this is like a learning, so even though it's some branded, um, builders might, you know this might not be the case in case of a branded builder, but this could not be a branded one or something, we don't know. And because of the RERA Act that has come up with the real estate, so a lot of things happen in the real estate business, right? So it's better to go with a ready to move in property, if at all you're looking for, you know uh, um, having a house of your own. It's better to have a ready to move in property, or at least the construction is completed 80 to 90%, right? So that is because at least you are assured of getting a position early. So under construction properties, anything might happen. So that is one thing. Another decision that comes in any doctor's life is whether to buy a property or whether to stay on rent. So this is something which has to be answered, which is very subjective. It depends on whether, like, like Arjun, he has opened his own clinic and he's settled there, right? So for him, it makes sense to, because it's a long term thing for him. He's not going to move out of this place because his business is all set up there, right? So it makes sense for him to have a house of his own. It might not be the case in case of other doctors, where they are still in the journey of, figuring out what works for them. So then this decision will be a little delayed. It is better to stay on rent for them. The third thing, the point that Veena mentioned was that they don't know how to channelize the money for the future. They don't know how to handle these sudden expenses. They don't know how to, what is the amount that they should look at, just like what Dr. Chinadurai was mentioning, right? So they don't know. And we identified some of the red flags, into this case study. The mutual fund portfolio was there, right? So out of that, a lot of them were underperforming the benchmark. So comparing the performance of your mutual funds on a at least, regular basis, like at least once in two years, 3 years, at a deeper level makes sense. Because see, underperforming funds are a no-no. So there comes a time when the movement has to be done. The SIPs need to be shifted to some other fund and things like that. So those decisions were not taken. Secondly, the savings ratio are, about 3-4% right now. So it has to be stepped up. They have to make it at least 15 to 20%. And every year, a 10% increase in the SIPs will really go a long way. So that is how they can channelize their, savings. They can step up their savings, push more and more. And then they have to segregate their, Arjun has to consider having two separate accounts, one for business and one for his personal, household expenses. The business account can be used to set up a runway, like, so to set up a fund kind of a thing, which will help him pull out from any business related uh, costs or expenses, right? So he has to assess, what he needs over the next 12 months and park it in that, particular account, whether it's a current account or something. And he has to have a separate savings account for his other household expenses. So that is one thing which they have to make. So this is a kind of a situation which we thought we could discuss and help set, some context there. Now, when one decides to set up own practice, so what are the things to consider? So, what are the challenges or the parameters that one should look at? So, the first thing that one has to do is it has to be planned in advance. It cannot be decided all of a sudden and taken that decision. So it can be done. Many people would have done it, but the better way to do is to plan it in advance, at least 2 to 3 years in advance, so that you can keep your losses to a minimum. At least uh, you have your projections, you have your calculations, how much is required, what will be the approximate conservative number for incomes, approximate higher level expenses, what you can expect, and how to build that runway for the initial period. What should be your marketing strategy? How do you approach people? Who are your target patients? Which is the location that you should be having your clinic? So all these decisions matter. So it is just like you are entering into a business, so there has to be a business plan, a proper business plan to go about it, right? So planning in advance helps. So what happens is, when you're planning in advance, you'll start setting aside some amount of money from your savings, especially for the purpose of setting up your own practice. So then you're avoiding taking a loan, business loan. To some extent, business loans come at a very high interest rate. Yeah. And the repayment period is usually short, maybe 2 or 3 years, right? So to avoid that, you should have at least 50 to 60% funding of your own, ideally, right? So that helps a long way. And then since you have your skin in the game, then your strategies will also be more streamlined and more focused to that. So then comes the next question of whether you should buy a premise or you should rent a premise, right? So this all depends on the type of cash flow that you're projecting for your practice, right? So if you expect that if this is something like a trial kind of a thing, right, where you're not understanding how to gauge the inflows, right? So in that case, better to rent a small space to start off with, and going forward, once the inflow is there, once the profit is there, once you make money out of that business, then you can look at having a bigger and buying a premise. So things like that. So if you feel confident that this is a well established thing, and you're confident that it is going to work, and you have a premise of your own, let's say your parents have a space or something like that, and where you can start off, then that is not an issue at all, right? So these are some of the decisions which come up. Medical equipment purchase or lease, whether you should go for a lease or a medical equipment purchase. So you should weigh both the options. If you're going to purchase, and if you are going to take a loan and purchase, and the EMI cost, does it break even? Like, are your total costs of this clinic are breaking even with your revenues? What you're going to generate from this business? So if your costs are more and your revenues are not going to help you to that extent, then you should better to go with a low cost option, which is a lease or a rent option initially, right? Of course, in medical practice, you cannot compromise on the quality at all. So there are options where you can take care of both the things, because running a business at low cost is very important. Staffing and recruitment, how do you know what kind of a staff you will need, how much specialized staff you need, and are they available, are they willing to come and work with you? What is the role that you're going to plan to offer them so that it's attractive for them to come and work with you? Work life balance and things like that. So basically, there has to be a strategy for the business, also for the people, also including yourself, right? So then there are license and registrations and things like that, which you have to take a decision. So these are some of the typical costs on a broader level that we have put it across here. So if anybody is contemplating with these, numerically, maybe this will be helpful. This is, again, let me give a disclaimer. This is based on some research, some newspaper articles, and some interviews that we did some research on, and these are the things. So totally, the fixed costs, one-time costs, come up to in the range of let's say 13 to 17, or let's say higher side 20 lakhs at one time. This is the one-time expense that setting up a medical practice would need. So what all it includes is your registration cost, your premises. If it is a rental one, so it costs somewhere around this type. Depends on the size also. Infrastructure and legal requirements, your basic equipments and your advanced equipments, like your scans, ultrasound, CT scans and MRIs or something like that. Right. So those are some advanced equipments which cost a lot, maybe 10 lakhs or above. That is the highest cost thing here. Support staff and recurring expenses, which is very, very important to run the operational efficiency, right? So continual medical education, this is something, which doctors have to do continuously, keep upgrading their skills, and take certifications and exams and things like that. So that will be on an average about a lakh a year or something. So those are some of the costs that one should consider. Next, what are the additional costs associated with setting up your own business or a clinic? Is so you can leverage a lot on technology these days. Technology can be a very very cost effective and efficient way of doing things, which ensures your business efficiency also, the turnaround also, and the revenues also. So these are some of the things related to setting up a medical clinic, like EHRs, the electronic health records, where the patient records and information, end-to-end informations are maintained. So this comes approximately for a cost of about a lakh rupees. So all the information related to a patient are entered here, including personal stats, lab findings, and everything. Right. Whenever a patient comes to you, you open this software and start entering the details there. Meanwhile, you also get a look at when was the last time he or she visited you, and what was the record at that point of time, what is the progress now, and things like that. So we visit our pediatrician for my kids, right? So this is a fantastic software he uses. So we get a notification of the vaccinations also. So that is a very good way. So there's a reminder coming that your child is due for this vaccination and things like that. So some things like that. So this improves your relationship with the patient as well. There is a long-term association kind of a thing. Then within the clinic also, you need to look at something called as a practice management tools, like which helps you to maintain your operations efficiently, like scheduling your appointments, to keep a track of your calendar and give the dates, looking at the insurance claims reports, billings at a clinic level. So these are some of the tools which are available and which are very very cost effective. They cost about 15,000, 35,000, somewhere around that, depending on the kind of provider, depending on the kind of things, level of things that you want. If it is a very basic and simple one, it's a very low cost. If you want something on a very advanced, like reports and things like that, the cost varies. So these days, after the COVID situation, video consultation is also coming, a very, very common thing these days. So if you have softwares or things like that where you can do video call, video consultation with your patients, then those are the things you should also be considering. Right. So if you're looking at, setting up a 50-bed hospital, let's say you want to do something at a larger scale, then the decision whether you want to do it in tier 1 cities or tier 2, tier 3 cities is a very big decision you have to make. So what are the things you should consider? So in tier 1 places, there are already these big corporate hospitals which are already there. In that space, how do you set up your own business, your own hospital, and what are the parameters you can consider? Alternatively, if you have to look at tier 2, tier 3 cities, or if, let's say, if you want to expand in those cities, and what are the things you can consider? So, see, the basic and the most important part is operating on a very low cost so that your margins are good. You make profits consistently. And how do you do that? Is again taking the help of technology and delivering high class healthcare services, right? So you can look at the kind of facilities that you want to give, like what works in these tier 1 cities, or what works in tier 2, tier 3 cities. What is your pain point? For example, I was reading an article of a doctor who has set up a 50 bed hospital in one of the tier 2 or 3 cities. He has expanded basically. So the things that considered was the people there. Typically, what happens is, like for cardiac care or a cancer care, they don't have facilities in those places. So for these kind of treatment, they end up traveling to bigger cities, tier 1 cities. So that is one thing which he tried to address at a low cost, and has set up facilities there where people can at least get the initial level of treatments or consultation. Yeah, treatment basically, right? And then if any advanced surgery, uh, the depth of the problem is quite deeper, then they can look at moving the patient to tier 1 city. So these are some of the things, that will come into the decision making of, whether to make a where to make a 50-bed hospital and how much cost would be involved, right? So to talk of the costs involved, so in tier one cities, somewhere around it will cost around 1 crore a bed easily, right? The same thing when you do it in tier two, tier three cities, it's around 12 to 15 lakhs, per bed kind of a cost. Why? Because then you're sourcing the materials and all, where you'll be sourcing the materials like, let's say, beds. You can get it made locally at very cheap cost, and then you don't need to have the kind of look and feel, right? So the basics will work there in those kind of cities, tier two cities. So a lot of things like the curtains, the linens, other things can be sourced locally. The machineries can also sourced those, of course, have no compromise there, but the other things can be made a lot of cost effective, in a lot of cost effective ways. So for these bigger type of hospitals, there are like cloud-based technologies, which are available as softwares, which you can leverage on, right? So all that matters. And how will your revenues impact, from where your revenues are coming, and what are the things influencing your revenues, right? So in these cities, people leverage more on government initiatives or government the provisions for them, like something like Ayushman Bharat or insurance for all kind of a thing. So then what happens? Cost is very very the fees are very very low in those cases. So then in that case, when you see that revenues are low, your volumes need to be higher. So you have to work on a high volume, low cost basis, and work out a model which works profitably for you. So those are the things. Now, these are some of the situations or some of the questions like a lot of doctors have, whether to have a clinic, whether to do both a clinic and a hospital kind of a work, or whether I should just look at focusing on building a bigger hospital by accumulating some money in a few years down the line and things like that. But normally, see, what stage of a doctor's life does the realization come that you should simplify and organize your finances? So this was one of the questions we had asked on the panel as well, when we had this webinar earlier. So let's see, Dr. Prasad, his answer, and then we'll take it ahead from there.
The second question is, at what stage of my career did you realize that you need to simplify and organize your finances? So very quickly on, I think it was in my early 40s, probably 40 or 41, I started my consultant job, and also I had a private practice on the side. So at that stage, I sat down and I worked on how I'm going to pay in for my retirement. Because certainly, old age poverty is not easy thing, and in today's changing generational values, for us to depend on our children to look after us is not acceptable. So in this regard, so I sat down and I worked out the differences between investing in real estate and investing in pensions. So I have an employer's pension into which I pay a significant amount. However, the problem is my employer is a government in the UK, so consequently the goalpost keeps changing according to the political climate. For example, the previous government a few years ago imposed a cap of how much can be paid tax-free into the pension, and consequently we had to pay about 55% of tax on any further payments we make into the pension fund. Now, the current government has realized that the doctors are leaving early because of these financial penalties. So what they have done on one hand is to raise the limit of how much you can invest in your fund. But on the other hand, they've actually extended the retirement age from 60 to 65. And in the next couple of years, it's going to go up to 68. So that is something that we can't really trust as a long term. And certainly, I'm not sure I want to be working at the current intensity till I'm 68. So that is something that I really thought about. And in that regard, I invested in about 5 to 6 properties in and around London. So the idea was to give myself financial security and peace of mind that my retirement will be taken care of.
Yeah, so that is one typical kind of a situation for doctors who choose to work abroad, right? So kind of things change down the line, so we never know. So kind of after 60s, depending on anybody, is like a no, and there has to be provision. And where do you invest, and where your incomes are coming, especially if you're a Indian doctor and working in abroad, and you cannot keep the decision hanging for a very long time where you want to end up retire after retirement, right? So that's a very crucial decision, and which has to come around 40, 45 years of age, and start working towards it. So that was one of the learnings we had when we interacted with Dr. Prasad, and we did some exercise there with him, financial planning exercise, and we brought in some advice on the table, and we have set path there. So now, one more poll question quickly. What is financial planning according to you? Can we quickly have the responses? We are running out of time. Thank you so much for your participation. We're getting some good responses here. I'm a bit of surprised with the response, actually. Yeah. Let's go ahead. Only 9 people have responded. Come on, this is not any right or a wrong kind of thing. Just what you think. Yeah, I think we'll close the poll question here. So what happens is, so most of the people think that financial planning is just investment planning. So, but I'm happy to see that, there's a good score given for goal-based planning, retirement planning, and long-term investing. But actually, it is much more to that also. Like, it considers the 360-degree aspects of personal finance for an individual and for the family. It starts right with, your cash flow, understanding your cash flows, right? So what are your incomes, what are your expenses, how much is going into savings. We work out with the different kinds of financial health ratios, kind of a thing. Are you overweight on debt? Are your EMIs eating up a lot of your cash flows? How can we optimize the same, and things like that? And then we move on to risk management. We're looking into life insurance, health insurance, professional indemnity insurance, like, are you adequately covered there, so that any sudden thing happening, it does not affect your overall financial health, and things like that. And then comes uh, devising what are your financial goals, and how to evaluate your existing investments, what more can be done with the investment basket, not only mutual funds, shares, and things like that. What are the other fixed income, passive income strategies that need to be there, whether it is an NPS, or whether it is a tax saving equity link savings scheme, if it has to be there. So things like that. So tax planning, everything. So everything end to end is covered in a comprehensive financial plan. So let me just quickly brief you, because whatever decisions you make, has to be in a much organized and planned manner. So one thing that comes across as a common thing is, devising a good financial plan which absorbs all the uncertainties, which helps you understand in a very, very conservative scenario, where do you stand, and, how well are you placed, right? So if everything is fine, if everything is going according to the plan, that is the best you can get. But when things take a hit, where do you stand, and what are your strategies? How do you go about it? So those are some of the things which need to be planned. So it's like a process. Financial planning is a process, of taking a bird's eye view of your current financial situation and your future. It is like a financial health check, exactly, and makes you understand, like, what are the things that are excellent, going on very well, what are the things are not so much according to according to the overall well-being. So what can we do? So it helps you also to organize everything around consolidation, organizing your data, organizing your finances, organizing your investments, and making it more based. Help you identify what can be your financial some of the financial goals. Maybe sometimes you haven't given thought to anything like that. So financial plan helps you identify those goals and how do you create a goal post for the same, right? And how your money and your savings and your investments, everything around can be channelized and can be mapped to your financial goals and help you achieve the things faster. So these are some of the elements of a good financial plan: income and expense analysis, your asset liability management, mapping of assets to your financial goals. What are your goal gaps and how do you go about it, right? So in short, it is like bringing the future to the present, so that you can do something about it today, right? So like most of the doctors we interviewed were saying that they don't know how much they need for retirement, right? Similarly, like that for education also. So providing a good education for your child, and how do you plan for it? Maybe your children also choose to become doctors, or they might not choose to become doctor. Whatever their choice, education costs have been shooting up, right? So how do you provision for that? So it shouldn't happen that all your hard-earned money is going somewhere else on others' tables and making profits for others rather than you. So how do you streamline those kind of activities and bring it in a more holistic way around and help achieve overall well-being? One of the important aspects you should understand that what all products do you have, financial products do you have with you right now, and are they making sense to have them for you, right? So among all this, how do you understand when somebody is mis-selling you or pushing you some products or things like that? How to avoid being the victim of mis-selling? So one thing you should be aware of, people giving wrong information, very hyped information, giving you all rosy pictures. So those are some of the red flags you should, look at. Things cannot be all so good, right? So uh, whether full all the information is being shared, or some, there's some information is being hidden. So all that has to be, evaluated, right? So these are some of the pitfalls you should look at, like keep the greed aside. Like some people tend to get attracted towards good returns kind of a thing, very exponential returns kind of a thing, but then there is a risk associated with it. So are you ready to take that kind of a risk? Are you ready to risk your money to that level? So that is one assessment which has to be made. Never buy a product that is pitched aggressively. Never buy a product that you do not understand. So understanding a product or a service is very important. What you're getting out of it, is it fitting into your financial plan? Will it help you in the long run? Is the kind of a thing. Never look at things from a short-term perspective. Always keep a long-term and goal-based approach. That will help you clarify a lot of things when you're buying any financial product. Right? So never buy a product which does not have a purpose for you, just for the sake of buying, or just because it looks too good. That doesn't mean that it is always helpful to you. You should ask questions like, what are the risks? Is there a lock-in period? What are my exit options? What are the charges? Have you disclosed all the charges, or is there anything else I pay out of my portfolio? So those are some of the common questions you should be asking. And another thing is, you should avoid last minute investments. Like last minute in the month of March 25th, you make a tax saving investment, right? So that is something which you should avoid always. So everything needs to be planned ahead and systematically and in a disciplined way. One last thing that you can do is take a second opinion with a financial doctor or a financial advisor. Things work best when it is a combination of your knowledge and your expertise, along with having a second opinion with the advisor. It works in combination. The combination works great. So you would have done some things, which you felt were right for you, but then a financial advisor will also help you understand how you can, is it aligned or not? Is it the right path or not? And things like that. And some corrective actions can be taken. So those are the things you can consider. So how do you choose your advisor? You have to look for credentials like CFP, a chartered financial planner, RIA, a registered investment advisor, a CWM, or a CFA, right? A chartered financial analyst. Those are the kind of credentials you should look for when you approach your advisor. Check for their systems and processes. What are the systems they are processing, how do they process the transactions, how do they charge fees, whether it is upfront or staggered, or what exactly, how do they do. And when you put a request, how it is taken, service request or whatever. So check on that to look for the experience, the reviews, and the kind of, you can also have discussions with one or two of their existing clients to see what their experience has been, and the good, the bad, and things like that. Check if they have a strong research team which does all the background checks for the products and things like that. Check about the fee structure, fix up a meeting. There's nothing wrong. Nobody charges for a initial meeting, so you can go to a few advisors and have an initial conversation. You will get to know a lot in the conversations, their approach and things like that. And then you can do a reference check and take your call. So we are at the end of the session. So this is a pyramid structure which anybody should follow. The first things first is your protection. You should protect yourself, your family from all the risks, and your profession also. The first thing is protection. There is no compromise on this. So this becomes like a base for all your further actions and decisions, right? Once these when you are secured with all the risks around you, so then comes your savings. You have to step up your savings and make it considerably. And then comes the growth component. You have been saving and investing enough, and as per what is required for your finances. Then comes the growth part. How do you grow? How do you make your hard-earned money work for you further, right? So those are some of the risks. Then comes like, can you play around with a certain portion of your money to take a little bit of a higher risks, and what that can be. And then comes a stage of financial freedom, where and independence, not financial freedom, and kind of your there's no looking back. Like, you don't have to earn to make a living, or to incur your expenses and things like that. So these are some of the key takeaways. Discipline is the key. Everyone has to follow a budget, protect your risks. Investing without goals is like shooting in the dark. So always have a goal-based approach, a long-term approach, rather than looking at short-term profits or short-term market movements or anything like that. Asset allocation is one thing which works wonders for anybody. So stick to asset allocation, and consult somebody to take a second opinion, right? So if you need if you feel the need that you need to consult with me, so these are my credentials. You can reach out to me anytime. So now we are open to take questions. Sanjay, over to you if we have questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing valuable insights. We can start the Q&A session. Meantime, I would like to request everyone to post your questions in the Q&A section. We will be taking it one by one. We are having one question. So if the question is that if I want to enter stock market for investing as a medical practitioner, how do I go about?
Yeah. Hi, Shruti. Let me answer that for you. So there's nothing like medical professionals. It's a big thing for medical professionals to enter into stock market investing. So these days, a lot of flexibility is there. See, you can start in a small way. The best way to start off is with a SIP. Starting, if you are somebody who is very, very new to stock markets, who doesn't know how these things work, the best approach is to do it through the mutual fund way, right? So doing some SIPs in some safe, not so risky mutual funds is a good thing. Someone who knows already, but doesn't know where to start, whether it is mutual fund or stocks, you can try your hand at both. You can pick some good quality stocks, and there are provisions. There are some portals which allow SIPs in stocks as well. But picking the right stock is something which has to be done from your end. There's a lot of background research and check you have to do, projections and financial statements and all you have to evaluate. So picking a good stock for the long term will be a good one. So having a good mix of a portfolio of stock and mutual fund is a good thing.